I just wanted to say thank you to y'all for 1,000 subscribers. And so, you know, I'm really happy y'all are here, y'all are supporting me. So thank you so much. It means a lot. Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. So before we jump into today's wrap-up video, there are two things I want to mention. One, you're probably like, Lauren, why on earth are you talking about what you read in February and March? We don't care, that was so long ago. And to that I say, I don't know, but I never actually talked about what I read in those months because it was just really sad, and so my June month wasn't also that great either, so I thought I would just combine the 3 months together so that way I could actually post, you know, a little bit of a wrap-up video for the month, and so that's why I'm doing that. And two is that I just wanted to say thank you to y'all for 1,000 subscribers. It has been a long time coming, you know? I have been on YouTube since January of 2018, but I actually only really figured out what I wanted to do on the platform in August of 2018. So I've been on BookTube for almost 2 years now, and so, you know, I'm really happy y'all are here, y'all are supporting me, so thank you so much. It means a lot. Just because, you know, why the heck not? I thought I would do like a 1K Q&A video because it seems fun. So if any of you guys have any questions for me, it can be like life or bookish related. I don't really care. I'm open to anything. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you want me to put it in the video, anything like that. And I just wanted to say like thank you a lot because it's very exciting for me. It's been a goal of mine for a long time, and so I just want to say thank you for making, you know, just some of my dreams happen. So thank you so much. Anywho, I will probably talk more about like with YouTube and all that kind of stuff in that Q&A video. So if you have any questions for me or want to say anything for that video, just leave me a comment down below and let me know. But anyways, back to this video. So like I kind of already said, I had a pretty pathetic reading month in the month of June. I think I only read 4 books, which, you know, isn't all that great considering I was doing pretty well. I had like 8-9 books read in a month, and then now I'm back to like not doing so well. And I also talked about all of those books already, and so it's okay though. I'm gonna start off talking about what I read in February and then working my way down to June. I didn't even read that much in February and March, so it should only take a matter of moments. But anywho, let's just jump right on into the wrap-up video and learn what I read in those 3 months. So first, in February, I only read 2 books in February. I know, kind of sad, but I was just in a big old reading slump for like a good 7 months, so cut me some slack. But the first book I read is To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I actually have a full video talking about all my thoughts on this book, which I will link up here and as well as in the description if you want to hear more of my thoughts. So this book, we follow Laura Jean, and she basically over her lifetime, I think she's in her last year of high school, I kind of forget, but she basically over her lifetime has had 5 major crushes, and I'm not going to name them all because I kind of forget them all. When she tries to get over one of her crushes, she writes them a love letter with all of her feelings, everything she's ever wanted to say to them, puts it in a letter, puts it in an envelope, puts the address and stamp on it, but never sends the letters. They're kept in a box that she has, which is kept somewhere in her room, just so she can get all her feelings out there. And one day, somehow, those 5 letters get sent out. So even someone from her childhood crush to a current crush, they all get the letters. And so for me, the concept of this book was super cool. There was some fun family dynamics in this book, and I just genuinely liked the idea of it. But for me, unfortunately, I didn't really like this book as much as I thought I was going to. I read it once before, I read it this year, and I really enjoyed it, but this year I actually gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, so not really the best of ratings. I will say though, sometimes this is a rare case, but I will say the Netflix adaptation for this book, so much better. It is so much better than the book. I would never really consider rereading the books, but the movies, so cute, I loved them. So I don't really remember all the details as to why I didn't like this book. Like I said, I do have a full video review, so if you want to hear all of my thoughts, you can watch it in the description down below. But I remember one thing is Peter Kavinsky. He is one of the main love interests that we hear about in this book. His character ain't that good. There was some nice tropes in there, some nice things that I'm not gonna spoil, but his whole attitude I just really wasn't a fan of, and I just didn't like this book as much as I wanted to. And so mostly because of him, I did not like this book, and some of the characters also annoyed me as well. A lot of them did. So for that reason, I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, which kind of sucks because I know so many people like this book. Like for some reason, it didn't hit the same for me, I guess. So I didn't like this one. so I'm sorry. And then the only other book I read in February is actually a continuation, is P.S. I Still Love You, the second book in the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy. And I actually never ended up reading the third one because I didn't really want to buy the book and I didn't have access to the book, and so I never ended up doing that. But I read the second one because the movie was coming out and I was super hyped for that. Like I said, for the last book, I actually have a full video talking about this book as well, which I will link up here as well as in the description if you want to hear my full thoughts. But I actually liked this book more than the previous book. There was, again, some problematic things. Peter Kavinsky wasn't that happy with his character again. But there were some different things, there were some cute things, and I definitely liked this book more. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So definitely not as bad as the first book. Definitely some improvement, which I really, really liked. However, I will say again, the movie, way better. Way better. It was so cute. Apparently some people didn't like the movie as much, but I loved it. I thought it was adorable and it was definitely better than the book. So I definitely think if I were to consume this trilogy again, it would definitely be through the movies and not through the books, which is kind of sad to say, but it is what it is. Definitely check out the video I just said if you want to hear more of my thoughts, but I enjoyed this one, 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend this book, but I wouldn't recommend the first book at all. So watch the movies, that's all I'm gonna say. Next, I want to talk about what I read in March, and I read so much in March. Big Fat Nothing, so that was great. Read nothing, super exciting. And that's why I never did a wrap-up video for March or February, because I only read 2 books in February and I already made a video on the 2 books I read. I read nothing in March, and then for June, I read 4 books, but I already have talked about the 4 books in another video. So hence this wrap-up video is kind of a mess, one might say. But regardless, I will talk about the books that I read in June now. So first up, I read The School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After. This is the 3rd book in the School for Good and Evil series, and this is actually the ending to the original trilogy of the books, and then there were 3 more books after it. And I actually really, really enjoyed this book and give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book was tied with one other book in the series to be my favorite, and I actually made a whole recent video talking about my entire thoughts on the entire series, so if you want to hear about what this book is about or all that kind of stuff, click the video up here, and again, I will link it in the description if you want to hear my thoughts. But I really enjoyed this book, and I actually really, really like this series. It's one of my favorites, and it's actually a middle grade series, I believe, so that's kind of surprising because most of what I read is YA, and this does kind of read like a YA, to be honest. I definitely understand how it is a middle grade novel-like series. Anywho though, this book was really good. I loved it. It's really big. It's like 650 pages, so I haven't read that much in a long, long time, but for some reason I was really engaged in this book. So even if it was 650 pages, I loved it a lot and really enjoyed my time reading it, especially the ending I really liked, and as well the friendship dynamics we see and the whole magic stuff we see throughout the story. I just loved it a lot. Next up, surprisingly, I read the 4th book in the School for Good and Evil series called The Quests for Glory, and I liked this book. It was pretty good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and just enjoyed my time reading it. It wasn't my favorite in the series, but I also liked it as well, so nothing really bad to say about it. I liked how the storyline continues on from the original trilogy, but also is very different in certain ways, and so it was really cool to learn more about all the characters, especially kind of the new villains we see coming into play. I loved that, and I loved the ending. He does a great job with his plot twists and doing things you never might have seen coming, all that kind of stuff. I loved this book a lot. Like I said, I do talk more about it in that video where I wrap up the whole series, but I'm just gonna do a couple quick thoughts on these books. Again, the friendship dynamics we see, some new characters we see, and there's this one really wholesome chapter I loved. Of course, everything after that just, you know, is chaos, but there were some nice scenes in this book and I really did enjoy my time reading it. Next up, surprisingly, I read the 5th book in the School for Good and Evil series called A Crystal of Time, and this book, again, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Kind of similar to my thoughts with the last book. I really enjoyed my time reading it, and we especially got a lot of good progress with the friendships that are in this book. Agatha and Sophie are amazing, and I loved how the morals of good and evil start to get more and more gray as the Camelot Years trilogy goes on, which is really cool because in the original trilogy you can clearly get who is good and who is evil and what they're fighting for, but in the Camelot Years, which are the last 3 books, good and evil are much more like on a gray scale, which is really cool. Also, this book is called A Crystal of Time, so obviously, you know, there is a crystal in the book, and everything we learn about that crystal is super cool. Really liked that, and also just how this book, you know, sets you up really nicely for the last book. I loved. I gotta hand it to him. Super good stuff. And then finally, the last book I read in June is surprisingly the 6th and final book in the School for Good and Evil series. I actually just made a whole video review. It's like half an hour. It's pretty in-depth about this book, which you can click up here or in the description if you want to check it out. I definitely do a pretty good job, I think, of talking about this book, so check that out if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But this book was tied with the third book as my favorite book in the series, and I think the endings to both of the like trilogies were like the best in the series. And so I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars and loved it. I loved the romance in this book. That was the real key there. I loved the dynamic we see between Agatha and Tedros. There's a whole lot of good stuff there. And the friendship we see between Sophie and Agatha, who is the main friendship in this book. I loved it a lot, and overall for this series, I would really recommend it because it's genuinely just a great time. You learn so much about like friendship and romantic relationships and good and evil and how you can see all these kinds of things between people, stereotypes, and how they are bad, simply to put it. This series is just so great, and kind of like I already said, I do talk more about the series in the videos I said down below, so check that out if you want to hear more of my thoughts or if anything I said interests you. But I loved the conclusion to this series, and I'm sad it's over, but I know hopefully that he's gonna come out with another great series soon. And also to say, this series is actually gonna be adapted to Netflix, or at least the first book is, which is really exciting for me because I have been a fan of this series for years now, and I know many other people have been as well, so hopefully when that comes out, it won't disappoint. I'm crossing my fingers because if it does disappoint, I don't know what I'll do with myself. But this book concluded everything so nicely, and I'm just so happy that I was able to read the final book, and even though it's sad the series is over, I think it's really worth the read. Anywho, so those are all the books that I read in the month of February, March, and June. So not the greatest reading months, but I still read quite a bit. I'm happy I was able to discuss a few of them with you guys, and if you want to hear any more of my thoughts, you can either look at the videos down below in the description, leave me a comment, asking a question, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, 6 books in 3 months, not all that good, but like, you know, some months are better than others, and this is just one of the ones that was not. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below, like always, if you read any of the books I've mentioned, if you have any questions for me, all that kind of stuff. Also, if you have any questions for me that you'd like to put in the Q&A video that I'm gonna do, please leave them down below. Let me know, because I hope people ask me questions so I can actually make the video. Or if you just have anything you want me to answer, just let me know, you know? Anyways, I will see you all very soon in a new video. So until then, bye.